So what you got going on today?
Not much, man. I'm in the office, man. I've been flying solo here for a bit the last couple of weeks, and we're still kind of plugging away, man. We're getting marketing done. I've got a development project that I'm wrapping up.
Development in land or
Rehab, a
infrastructure?
large scale rehab that I did. So I'm in the middle of getting that kind of wrapped up, and
Good God.
two of those left. So
Mhm.
we're kind of playing the game with the city, as far as permits and
Oh
different.
Lord.
Want to get those things figured out, man. You know how that goes. So, doing our best with that, but everything's been
Tell me what does that look like, Chris, when anybody going to work these days? I got boys down here that are dying. They can't even get an inspection.
yeah. So that's the problem right now. So Richmond just came out with where you can get third party inspections.
They got
Uh,
that here too.
yeah, so we just got that like maybe a month ago. So I'm trying to work through that program and get some of that stuff going. Because getting somebody at City Hall on the phone right now is a nightmare. And I drove around earlier today up in Churchill here in Richmond. And I'll tell you, man, it's there's houses that are under construction, being built, under renovation, and nobody's on these job sites, man. I mean, I think I saw one or two active job sites.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
Holy cow, Chris.
yeah.
I
So
bet that's scary looking. Like out of a movie.
it's just kind of. I mean, has been
Popping.
it's been the busiest, most active neighborhood for probably 7 years in Richmond. So to see it somewhat at a standstill is it's pretty interesting, man, to say the
I,
least.
I bet it's sobering for your eyes to think as opposed, no doubt, when you drive up there, you're thinking about progress, future.
Oh yeah,
Now what are you thinking wow.
yeah. I mean, I'm having the same thought as everybody else, man. It's what does the future look like? Where are things going to go? What are we going to do with the business? No matter how big or how small your business is, those are all thoughts that we're having. Our deals are still closing from a wholesale perspective.
Cash
Um,
buyer side.
yeah, yeah. Some of them having to rearrange financing, or we're having to help get some financing accomplished for them. So if you got anybody in Virginia that needs help with financing, let me know, and I can try to help with that if the deal makes sense.
Yeah.
But it's just one of those things, man. It's a black swan event. It's not something any of us expected or likely were prepared for. I definitely wasn't prepared for it to kind of come out of the blue.
Wow.
Uh, I did a year and a half, 2 years ago. I did start to get out of a lot of the large projects that I was doing.
I want to talk about that.
Yeah, we talked about that a while back. So I stopped doing a lot of the large construction stuff. Stopped doing
I
a
want to
lot of
get into that. I want to get into that though, Chris, because I mean, you were just a beast on the construction
yeah,
before. I
yeah.
can't
We were
wait to
doing a lot.
hear.
Yeah, we were doing a lot, man. So we kind of intentionally got out of a lot of that stuff that we were doing about a year and a half ago, and I had my reasons for doing that. Ironically, man, people were calling me crazy. Some people said I was going broke and losing my mind. That's
Like
why,
David Dash, you
yeah,
go
that's why
big
I was
on.
selling everything off and getting out of projects. But we kind of saw the
Thank
writing on
God
the
you
wall,
did.
man. Yeah, exactly. So, thankfully I did that, man. I'm not in a stressful place right now, and
Me
uh,
neither.
not sitting around worried about too much.
Oh
So,
my God.
that ended up working itself out.
Roundup family, thank you for joining us. This is Chris Haskins with the realestateroundup.com. My mission and ministry is to raise your financial literacy through real estate investing and entrepreneurship. Today, I got my boy. I met this dude probably, when did I drive up there? 2011, 12?
Yeah, it was a long time ago, man.
You didn't have a beard then.
Man.
Chris Jefferson, Richmond, Virginia. What up?
Hey, what's going on, man? I appreciate you having me on, man. I really do.
Yeah, it's an honor to hang out with you, big dog. So yeah, could you just give us a snapshot of your business a few years ago? I remember, dude. I remember coming to some renovations. I mean, I remember you did a $200,000 reno, and I'm like, I wouldn't be
Yeah,
doing that.
yeah,
I wouldn't be doing
we've done some crazy stuff. So a couple years ago, man, I was doing a lot of large projects.
that.
Was building
Large is what, Chris? Frame it up for my viewers
so over 100. All of our budgets were over $120,000. So our
for the
renovation
reno.
projects, yeah, each budget was over 120,000, and then we were building a lot of houses as well. Which was costing anywhere from 150 to 200,000 to build a house. So yeah, I mean, we've definitely been cutting our teeth for years on large scale projects. The houses that we developed were, more higher end products as well. So we weren't doing, small renovations or anything like that. So we've kind of worked through all of that, over the last couple of years, and then we started making the adjustment, and we got back into. I started out wholesaling, man.
Yeah.
Feels like moons ago. So we kind of navigated back into wholesaling, and back in 2016, and that by far, man, has been one of the greatest moves that we've made, as far as a business and getting those things done. So eternally grateful that I was able to do that and kind of get ahead of certain things that have happened here in the market.
Then when we met, Chris, I remember you telling me you're everybody, well, Roundup family knows I'm a whole guy. I like to hold assets. But I remember you telling when I met you back in the day, you were like, no, I don't do all that. I don't do that.
Yeah, man. It's funny. It's funny you say that, man. So when I talk with people and they ask me, they say, "Hey, man, do you have any regrets?" Right. So my biggest regret in being in business for 10 years is that my eyes didn't open when it came to rental property and holding property until just a few years ago.
Gotcha.
I started my business when I was really young. I'm 33 right now. So, I really started running and doing well in my business when I was 23. And, what happened for me is, 23, man, you put the prospect of making $30,000 or the prospect of making $300 a month, I'm going to grab $30,000, right?
Yeah, doesn't compare.
Yeah, in hindsight, the mistake was treating the business as a cash grab and trying to just grab as much money as possible, as constantly as possible. So that's just one of those things. But, a couple of years back in 2015, we started buying rentals, picking some stuff up, apartment complex that we developed 23 here in Richmond. So we've been more intentional about that. I'm looking forward to the downturn in the market to be able to buy more property in that capacity. In terms of rental property, multifamily, things of that nature.
Cool. Okay. Well, all right. Praise God. I'm like, when you told me that, I remember years ago, I'm like, okay, you're 20 something years old. So I was the same way. I can cry a river, Chris, of all the houses. I mean, when I think about it, obviously I don't remember them all, but
yeah, it'll keep you up at night sometimes, man. I mean, I think about all the good deals I let go, some of the equity I could be sitting on right now.
Oh God.
But it's part of the game. But
growth.
The reality is, man, we got another shot at it, right? So
there you go.
Everybody's kind of freaking out and going crazy with what's going on. And if you're positioned correctly, especially for people that are new, man, I started in 08, right? So I started when the market was down. This is the best time to get into the business, in my opinion.
What makes you say that?
There's just so many opportunities that are available. And what I mean by that is you have the option and the ability where there's going to be so much inventory to pick up, especially when it comes to creative financing and getting stuff at low interest rates, subject to, there's just going to be a ton of opportunities available for this business where you can truly amass great wealth. And so I'm super excited about that personally.
I heard you say 2 words: amass wealth. Has nothing to do with income. I want you just to kind of break that down, Chris, so people can understand. Because when you're starting out, you're just looking for the checks, just as we both did at the beginning. So amass wealth. Go ahead.
Yeah, man. So the way that I break that down right now in my personal life is, I've got an active income bucket and I've got a passive income bucket. So for years and years and years, I focused specifically on just the active income bucket. So, I was rolling in big bucks and made a whole lot of money, but I had to wake up every morning and work for the next deal, right? The passive income bucket, that's money that you can make residual over time, but not just that. Now you can leverage against your collateral, so you can leverage against your assets to do bigger projects, to lend money. There's just so many different things you can do when you're in that place. You can position yourself for appreciation in the market and growth over time. So it's you got to break things down into those buckets. And the key, and I think the secret is focusing on the active income bucket and the passive income bucket at the same time.
It's funny you mentioned that. When I was with Patrick Bet-David last week, he said offense is going to be your income, and then your defense is going to be your management part.
I like that. Yeah.
So cool. So would you say that you were focusing on offense for several years, Chris?
Yeah, man, I was just a scorer, right? I was just coming out every day and putting up buckets, right?
But you were one of the best. I mean, you not are one of the best scorers in the business,
I
bro.
appreciate that, man. I've done a lot of deals, man, a lot of different types of deals. I've helped a lot of people, my coaching and stuff like that, get into the business and do very well in the business. But at the end of the day, right, I'm 33, so I want to create, more wealth than I have right now. I want to have lasting, long-term wealth, and the true ability to be able to do that does come from buying and holding and owning assets. It doesn't mean that not everybody can start out that way, right? So not everybody has the ability to start out and go buy rental property or inherit a property from a relative or something like that. And so wholesaling is a phenomenal way to get into the business, to generate some income. Notice I said income, right? So generate some income, not wealth, but generate some income that you can then transition into wealth building assets, right? A mistake a lot of people make when it comes to wholesale income is that once you get good at wholesaling, the income starts to become rapid. It's like printing money, basically, right? And so
20 here, 10 here, 15 here.
On a monthly basis, you're making 10, 15, 20, 30, 50, $60,000, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you start to build a life around that active income. But it's almost like a job, right? So if that job is ever cut off or you get laid off from that job, like many people are getting laid off right now, then that active income is gone, right? But if you buy assets, you get to do two things when you buy assets, right? One, you've got to build them up to get money, right? And that's understandable to make good money. But two, it then provides you the foundational surface to build any other business around. So if you build rental assets, that gives you the ability to be able to then hire a sales rep, hire an assistant, because you have rental income coming in that you know is going to come in on a monthly basis that you can scale your business around, right? So I'm not the only person that's made that mistake, right?
No, I did.
Yeah, you made it. But again,
I'm getting this money. I remember the big dog, old dudes used to be.
Yeah.
They would be behind the doors laughing at me,
Oh,
but I know they were.
Yeah.
Huh?
I said, I know, me too. Yeah.
I'm like, man, I'm getting this 30,000. I'm getting this 30,000.
Right, it's a lot of money.
They were like,
yeah, he's gonna learn. He's gonna learn. Yeah, man. But again, that's the cool part about where we're at in the market. So, I told Mark in my office a couple of weeks ago. He was asking me, "Hey, man, what are our thoughts, man? What's the plan?" And I said, "Hey, listen, man. I said, here's the beautiful thing about what's happening right now. Everybody's about to get a do-over, right? So if you didn't do something right the last 10 years, you got to get another shot, right?
yeah,
The reality is I'm only 33, right? It doesn't matter what age you are. You could be 50 years old. You could be 60 years old. You've got time, right? You got time, and you've got the intelligence of learning from people like yourself, learning from people like me, learning from some of these other folks out here that are giving you the resources and information that you need to be able to do things the right way going forward in this new market climate with velocity. And so I think a lot of people are going to become extremely wealthy through this situation. I think there's going to be a period of you're going to have to take some bruises. Yeah, I mean, that's like, right. I've had the conversation with anybody who works for me that, you got to be willing to go through a little bit of turbulence to get to your destination. That's just how life works. Yeah, it's not a sweat to me. Maybe I can't eat at the same places. Maybe I can't do this at some point in the future. But yeah, it's not a big deal, man. You have the intellectual knowledge that's been gained over the last 10 years. And I was talking with Max Maxwell the other day. He's a good friend of mine. We were having a conversation. I think it was yesterday, but I was just like, look, I mean, I could go broke today and get it back in 6 months. I mean, you got to have that mentality. You can't have the fear of what can happen or can't happen in the market. This is not a predictable situation. We're taking it day by day. We don't know how things are adjusting or changing on a daily basis. So for us, it's just being intentional about our marketing. We're doubling down on our buyer conversations. We're talking more and more with our buyers to find out exactly what they're looking for and where. Because the
What are
market,
they saying, Chris? What are your buyers saying? Generally speaking, these are cash guys, right?
yeah. So mostly our rental buyers are still active. Um,
Wow.
what I'm doing in my own personal business, as well as some other people that I know, is I'm focusing on that first time home buyer market. So as the market starts to compress and people can afford less and less, everybody's going to end up falling into that bucket of affordable. So you need to be aware of wherever you're located, what affordable looks like in your market. Is that houses under 150,000? Is that houses under 250,000? What exactly does that look like, right? And so you have to figure those things out and focus on creating that type of inventory for the marketplace. So there's going to be a lot of opportunities there. We have to wait and see what the government does to stimulate the economy. The stimulus package has been released. There's a cluster in itself right now, but that's been released. We'll see what happens with that. I think that's a $2 trillion stimulus package. I made a lot of money in 2010 and 2011 when the
tax credit,
the first time home buyer tax credit, I think it was $8,000. We couldn't finish houses fast enough to get them sold. So
I remember that.
Things will happen to stimulate the economy here in the near future. You want to be positioned from a knowledge base to be able to take advantage of it when it does come.
Roundup, thanks for joining us. I'm hanging out with Chris Jefferson, full-time real estate investors. Are you? Would you be considered a wholesaler now, Chris? I mean,
it's funny, man.
You went.
I zig and I zag, man. I just say investor overall. We do a lot of different things, man. We do. We still flip. We do some lending. We do different things. I see real estate as a vehicle to make. Yeah, exactly.
I think you see that as you matriculate. Thank you, Hampton University. As you kind of like look at just business, you're like, man, it's just another. Ronald Graham's like just another product.
Yeah, so like that's the funny thing you start to realize, right? Is that really in effect, man, like all industries really kind of work the same. Real estate is just our product, right? So like you go to the store and buy bread, and so somebody's making sure that bread is the best that it can be, that the packaging is great, that the flavor is right, all those different things. We're just essentially doing the exact same thing with housing. And so, that's the perspective that I have with it. To be good at real estate, you can be good really at any business. So it just depends.
Get your questions in, rounduppers for the man, Chris Jefferson. Be here, Richmond, Virginia market. So let me ask you, Chris, what is changing regarding your business processes as we go through this pandemic? Can't go out. People don't want to come to the house. I talked to Mike yesterday. Well, last week, one of my lenders, he's up there. Yeah.
That's my guy.
Yeah. So he's lending 50%, period. So, and then he's seeing retail lenders backing off. They want letters from lenders they want letters from borrowers verifying that they're going to have a job in 3 months, or deals are blowing up at the closing table. Are you seeing any of that too from the retail side?
So I haven't had any issues right now on the retail side. I've got one under contract right now that we're in the process of finishing up.
Retail?
Retail, where we've got a buyer locked in for that. We haven't seen any specific issues with that so far. But if something came up today, God forbid, if something came up today and the guy lost his job or his funding got pulled from him, I wouldn't take it as a surprise. It's part of just kind of where we're at. When it comes to hard money, I'm seeing lenders are pulling back to 50 to 60%. So my encouragement is everybody should be game planning to sell their properties in that capacity. So, um, you want to try to target to sell your deals in that 50 to 60% range, because that's where people are going to be able to actually get funding. Some people are still going to have cash they can bring to the table to supplement that hard money so that they can close. But most buyers are going to be buying in that ballpark. The other big thing that I want to point out too is that people also need to understand that we are in the middle of transitioning from a seller's market to a buyer's market. All right, and this is really important. So for the last 8 years, 7, 8 years, all right, we as sellers have been able to dictate the sale, right? We've been able to kind of control the process of the sale. We've been able to be picky about who we want to sell to. We've been able to say things like, "Hey, I'm only taking highest and best," and "Hey,
I don't
I'm
want to deal with that. Yeah.
not doing this on the inspection report," and da 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 da. We're in the process of transitioning back to a buyer's market. All right, and so what that means is now we're going to have to do things like closing costs again. Right, we're going to have to do things like
We still had to do that down here, Chris. You haven't had to do that up there?
nah, we haven't had to do that in a really long time.
Gotcha.
We're finding now on the one that I got right now that I said just a few minutes ago, this for sale. So that deal, for example, we increased the purchase price to be able to compensate for the closing costs needed, and we've done that
Gotcha.
over the years. But we're moving back into the market. We've been able to do that though because prices have appreciated over time, right? So as that starts to change, now it's going to have to start coming back out of our pocket again, right, as the seller. So you got to be aware of that and know that up front.
Wow, that's a good word. So are you tell me how you're adjusting, Chris? Has anything changed regarding the moving parts of your business and the marketing perhaps?
Yeah, so we're becoming more aggressive on our cold calling. We really like cold calling. We've been doing it for years and years. I think 6 years we've been cold calling now. We're cold calling more aggressively. So within the last couple of weeks, we brought on, I believe, 6 new cold callers. And so we brought them in to kind of double our efforts. People are at home. People are picking up the phone. Our contact rates are up. So that's exciting. Shifts that we're making, or we're looking more at creative finance opportunities in our deal flow. So, doing things like reps, looking at lease option opportunities, contract for deed, things
Gotcha.
we're looking for that. In terms of a process of buying, we moved about a year ago over to making phone offers,
Mhm.
so making our offers by phone. We've been doing that for a really long time now. So that's not
Gotcha.
too fast of adjustment for us.
Mhm.
If you don't know how to make offers and buy over the phone, that's something you should absolutely be doing and trying to figure out right now.
You
Um,
better.
yeah, and it's something that's worked out really well for us. So there hasn't been a huge transition in terms of as far as that's concerned.
Are you seeing they're still wanting us to come out to the house, Chris? Are you seeing people that are like, look, don't come out
Now we
because we're
haven't,
gonna.
we haven't had people that have said that, but we also don't position it that way that we're going to come out by phone. And if we do need to come out, we haven't had anybody that's adverse to us needing to come out and take a look at the property.
Gotcha.
It's one of those things that I think if you got somebody who's motivated that needs to sell right now, they're going to
Mhm.
be comfortable with you coming out so they can get the property off their back and get it sold.
Gotcha. Round up with 110 people that are here, 115. Round up. Thanks for joining us. I'm with Chris Jefferson. Get your questions in over the box over there. I got a few more minutes with him. Then we're gonna go to Q&A. Is that okay, Chris?
Yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely. I do anything for you, man. I used to write for your newsletter back in the day. Uh, you know, um, yeah, I don't even remember what year that was, man. That was a couple years back. 5, 6 years ago. So
I
knocking out.
forgot about that.
I've been seeing your content, man. You're doing a great job helping the people, getting people information, man. So I
Thank
always
you.
enjoy. I love your gym videos the best, man. We showing the guns off with the wife beater and getting the information to the people, man. I love it. I love it.
Thank you, Chris. It's an honor. I feel like I'm so dude. I haven't been to the gym in 3 weeks. I'm dying, Chris.
I need to get in there myself, man. I need to get in there myself.
I'm dying.
I need a
What do you
haircut. I've been trying to work through
bar
that.
barbershop closed too?
Yeah, man, they got the whole thing shut down. I'm gonna have to figure out how to cut this myself, man.
There you go.
I'm gonna figure it out. I'm gonna figure it out. You got time to mess up right now. Nobody gonna see you.
Like, I want to tell you that I lost my hair when I started thinking about all the houses I got rid of, Chris. I didn't tell you to do that though.
You know what's funny, man? So I can't see them too good, but I got a bunch of grays coming in here, man. And people start asking me, like, man, how you getting those grays in your beard? I said, man, you ain't never built a house before, man. You ain't never borrowed a hard money loan before, man. And you got 6 months and you in month 6, and you ain't finished the project yet. You're going to get a couple gray hairs, man.
Chris, could you imagine? Maybe you need to just speak. What words of encouragement can you tell people that are in just a man? I want to paint this in a hard money loan, building a house right now, can't get inspectors to come out. What can you tell? What can you do just to give them some hope, brother?
Yes, that's a good question. I like that question a lot. You need to call your lender. All right. So I call it a get real conversation. All right. So the way things work is, so everything trickles down. All right. So the lender's typically, he's either loaning you his own money or he's loaning you money that he's gotten from somebody else. Generally speaking, they're loaning you money they've gotten from somebody else, not their own money. So they're either borrowing the money from their bank on a credit line or something to that effect, or they're raising money and then loaning that money off to you, right? So my point with that is that they are having to answer to someone, all right? And so when they have somebody calling them, asking them a question, they're now calling you and putting pressure on you as far as your project's concerned. The reality is you got to pick up the phone, get on a Zoom, get on a phone call, and you got to have a realistic conversation with your lender. You got to set very realistic expectations. Everything is not going to go right with the way that the market is right now, especially if you're in a large scale project, building a house, doing a renovation over $30,000-$40,000. It just is what it is. You're going to lose buyers that you've got under contract. You've got to communicate with your lenders right now. You got to let them know exactly what's going on. They're either going to understand that or they're not, right? The good lenders, the ones that have been in business for a while, they understand how this thing works. Guys like Mike Crumbine, they're going to get it. They still want to get their money back, obviously, but they're gonna understand the current state of the market, and they're going to be receptive to having that conversation with you. Even if they don't like it, they're going to respect the fact that you've had that conversation. But you've got to get in front of that and go have a conversation. Now's not a time to be optimistic and say, hey, this is only going to be here for a couple of weeks, then they're going to open it back up and everything's going to be. That's not what's happening. All right. This situation is going to be here for quite some time. The effect on the market is going to be vast. You got to get ahead of this and go have those conversations, because even if your lender doesn't appreciate that right now, they will down the road. And there's going to be a time where you're going to need that money again to recycle back into the market, and you want to protect and have those good relationships for sure.
Well, most money guys, no doubt, have their thumb on the stock market, and they're getting murdered there, Chris. No doubt, correct?
100%. I talked to one of my lenders last week. We had a get real conversation. Exactly what I'm talking about, right? Because he kind of was putting a little pressure on me, and I'm kind of like, hey, man, like, we haven't had any problems. What's going on? Been in communication with you since this kind of situation broke. And he told me, he said, hey, listen, he said, my lender's taking a bath right now where I borrowed money from to loan it to you. Okay. Yeah, the lender owns a publicly traded company.
Yeah.
And he's taking a huge bath right now in terms of his net worth. We got to focus on trying to get this money back into him as soon as possible. So that's just kind of where we're at in terms of a market,
Gotcha. Round up, get your questions in. Let's go ahead and take some Q&A. Oh, yeah, before I leave you, Chris, what gave you the wherewithal to get out of doing a million rehabs, contractors? I mean, I don't know how much money, no doubt, you could probably say that you threw away with bad contractors. I'm reading your mind. No doubt you had bad contractors.
Oh, man, probably millions, man.
How many kids you could put to school? But what made you change?
Here's the deal, man. So back in 2016, I ran into cash flow issues, right? Cash flow issues. All right.
Okay.
So my burn rate was like 200, over a little over 200,000 a month. I was spending to support and move my business. Before I could make any money, I needed to make a little over 200,000 a month, right? And so it just got hectic. The thought of it, waking up every day was a drag. Going to job sites, dealing with contractors, dealing with the city. And so I realized that I had made a mistake in the last 2 years. All right. And the mistake is that I got too focused and locked in on being a developer, and I got too far away from being an investor. And what I mean by that is when I've got my investor hat on, I'm looking at everything from a perspective of rate of return, right?
Strictly dollar.
That's it, right? Not
Great
that
mentality.
not that I want to have the sexiest project with the best bathroom, and not that I
You
want.
did some hella bathrooms.
I've done some crazy, beautiful houses for sure.
The waterfall, you got me doing that stupid waterfall thing that I don't need to be doing.
Yeah, we started doing that a long time ago, man. So we've done a lot of that. And so we started looking at the business, and we looked at what was producing the best rate of return, right? So here's what I found out. So
Strictly dollar for dollar. Okay.
dollar for dollar, what I found out is rehabs that I were doing where the repairs costs were less than $30,000. We were getting tremendous rate of returns on average. We were selling that property from start to finish. So started alone, the finish sold retail within 120 days. All right. So I knew that I needed to continue to focus on a product like that. Now, that wasn't the sexy product. So it's not the one that I could post on Facebook and I would get 200 likes and they
Look at me.
yeah, they get the pat on the back, the feel good pats on the back. This is just a regular renovated house under $150,000, just regular house, right? Not the fancy high end stuff that we were doing. Mm-hmm. So, that was one instance. All right. Another one is I started really looking at and evaluating the cost of money. All right. So at the time I was using a lot of hard money and I was in the middle of transitioning into private money. And so I started really analyzing the hard money that I was using. And, it's like having a partner, like, when you really break it down.
It is a partner.
In some of those deals, my hard money lender made more money than I made. So I had to start getting realistic about that as well. And we started looking at, hey, look, if you got hard money and you take a loan past 6 months, you're playing from behind, right? So the large type of projects that I was doing on hard money, on average, took 8 to 10 months, right? Some of them took longer than that. We had some projects we held for a year and a half, right? And so what I ended up realizing was, hey, I need to focus on just something that I can get done within 6 months. If it can't be completed, regardless of stuff going on with the city, regardless of plans, environmental studies, whatever, if it can't be done within 6 months, we don't need to do it if we're using hard money. Because if we are, the interest becomes too high at month 6 to the point where you can still make money, but you're not making anywhere near what you should be making, right?
Your return goes way down.
Right? And so once we self-analyzed and looked at all these things, and I hired some consultants also that really helped me out. But once I took a look at that, we realized that we were making a tremendous rate of return on the wholesale business without focusing on it and putting really any effort in it at all, right? So we needed to double down everything that we were doing on that. And then again, like I said, that lower end product, not lower end, but that affordable product that we were doing really well on that product, but we weren't doing enough of it because we were so focused on the high end stuff. So what I ended up doing, all right, is that I ended up selling off high end projects that I was in the middle of. So stuff that I was in the middle of construction on, I sold those projects off. Land that I had bought over the last couple of years that I was just sitting on, waiting to develop, that I had in inventory, I sold that stuff off. So we kind of liquidated a lot of those holdings and then just focused specifically on wholesaling and affordable housing. And that has by far been a really beautiful thing for my business. It's helped me out tremendously. My gray hairs, they've stopped. They haven't gone away, but they've stopped growing for now, right? Since I made that adjustment a couple of years ago. So that put me in a good space, and it's opened me up to a lot of different opportunities, right? So that's when I started my coaching program. That's when I started doing the stuff online with Max Maxwell. And 5 years ago, I didn't have time to even entertain.
I remember asking you
anything like that, right? Because I was so consumed in my business itself. Now I have the ability to be able to help somebody else get an opportunity in this business, learn from my mistakes. I say a lot of times that the first person through the door is who gets shot. So, guys like me and you, we've already walked through that door, right? So if we've already gone through that door and taken those hits, there's no need or reason for you guys to do the exact same things that we did. If we're telling you that there's better, easier ways to make money and be effective in this business.
I remember driving around town with you, looking at all these projects. I mean, you were doing stuff that I wouldn't. I mean, I'm like, oh, man,
I remember that.
stuff.
Yeah. I was doing a lot of stuff, man. A lot of stuff.
I'm like, dude, you doing this? Okay. I mean, I didn't.
Nah, man. I mean, look, man, back then I could go on a block and we could have 2, 3, 4 active projects on one block. So, I mean, it was good times, crazy times. I learned a lot from it. But now we run the business much more effectively, and the profitability is much better. Now, so let me clarify something on that when I say that. I think a lot of people don't understand this. So now my revenue numbers aren't as big. All right.
Talking about gross or
gross, right. So my revenue in terms of, I'm not showing 10, $15 million on the balance sheet and total sales for the year.
That's not bad.
Right.
That's not a bad thing.
That's what I want to make sure people understand. So that gross number might be less, but my net out has increased in the last 2 years versus what it was 5 years ago, right? And so that's something important for people to understand. And then the time that I've been able to buy back from not, running the Lowe's every day, running to the city hall every day, doing these different things has had a tremendous effect on the things that I'm doing for sure.
I'm sure it feels better too, Chris, at night, right?
Oh yeah, it does, man. You don't go to sleep, biting your teeth all night, feeling like you're going crazy and not knowing, hey, what's going to happen with this project? The city's trying to shut me down on this, and dealing with zoning department on something over here. So, that's been something I'm grateful for, man. I kind of saw the light on that early. And something that I used to tell people all the time was, hey, look, I'm comfortable if I get out of the market too early and leave some money on the table than getting out of it too late and not having any money at all. So
I like that one. That's a writer downer. Say that one again, Chris.
So the goal was, and I say this to people all the time, I'm glad that we got out of the market than we did. I'd rather get out with something in hand than try to stay in too long, and then you get your hand caught in a cookie jar. You don't have anything left at all. So we made the right call on that, and that's worked out beautifully for us for sure.
Getting out early. I gotta write that one down, man.
Yeah, man. Get out early, keep a couple of dollars versus stay in the game too long, man, and burn yourself out.
I like that one, Chris. I'm thinking about all my homies, no doubt, had houses. It could have been me. Houses on the market right now trying to get top dollar. I'm like, you know what, man? Let's just get home, get the money back, get my couple.
Get it going, man. Now's not the time for that, man. Now's not the time to try to throw something on the market and try to. I mean, I remember we used to put stuff on the market. Whatever the top price in the neighborhood was, we'd put another 10,000 on. Now's not the time to do anything like that. Now's the time to put something on the market and kind of get it off the door.
So you got out of that stuff, and I know, man, I got a million questions. I'm just visioning you getting out. Did you take a loss when you got out of all that stuff, Chris, or did you just get the money back and keep moving?
No, I mean, I had maybe, I don't know. I think we sold off. We got worked through maybe 21 projects. I think I took a loss on 3. The way I rationalize that is, if I chartered a jet right now and we flew to Vegas and I said, hey, Chris, we're going to play 100 hands of blackjack, but you're going to lose 3. You're going to play every single time.
I'm good with that. Yeah, that's good.
You can live with that, right? So, I mean, that's kind of my perspective too.
Gotcha. Round it up. Get your questions in the chat box. If you're watching this now, we got 110 on here live. If you missed it live, just put your comment below. Chris will come back to you. Jed Clark. Hey, Jed, round up. Make sure you put your city or your state where you're chiming. I need to know where you guys are coming in from so we can get you the right content. What's the best way to get very low offers accepted, Chris? What are you doing?
Yeah, you got to educate the seller on why your offer is what it is, right? All sellers are aware of what the economy what's going on with the economy right now. You got to lean into that with your negotiations. And you also got to make sure you're painting the proper picture for sellers. So you got to know what their motivation and pain point is. And you got to be able to understand and show them what the benefit for them is to sell that property to you, right? Once you can figure out how to do that while understanding their situations, you'll definitely be in good shape.
Yeah, educate. So basically, are you saying we need to educate the buyer?
Got to educate the buyer. Because again, here's the thing: the buyers are educate the seller. You got to educate the seller.
I'm sorry, seller. Yeah, sorry.
So sellers still think it's a seller's market. Oh, I got 3 people that have been calling me. They want to buy my house and da 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 da. You got to educate them on the fact that we're in a changing climate. Offers are changing by the day. Hey, I'm making you an offer today, but just so that we're on the same page, that offer could be different the next 2 weeks. That offer could be different tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
So you want to educate your and make sure you're using recent comps. All right, so make sure you're using comps within the last 3 to 6 months, and then backing down off of those comps, not going back a full year.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. Tony Pearl in the building. What's up, Tony? Tony Pearl. Oh, oops. Sorry about that. Round up, get your questions in for Tony Pearl. Blonde Blue 32. Chris, how do you judge? Huh?
This is a good question. Yeah. So how do you judge?
Yeah, read it. Oh, go ahead. Read it, Chris, for my people can't see it.
Okay. All right. So how do you judge where the bottom is to get in? All right. That's an interesting question. So you can't. Yeah, you can't. All right. The only way that you can know that you're in the bottom is just by time. All right. So when prices bottom and stabilize at a certain point for a period of time, and they don't continue to go down, that's going to let you know and confirm we're at the bottom of the market. All right. But that doesn't mean that you got to only buy at the very bottom of the market. That'll be the best.
No, you don't have to.
All right. So you don't have to wait until the very bottom of the market to buy property. But you just got to know that when you do see that the data shows that we are now at the bottom, because pricing has been consistent for a certain period of time, now is the time to go harder and be more aggressive for sure.
So, Chris, would you recommend them looking at retail solds or cash buyer solds to kind of give them
cash buyer sold?
Cash buyer sold. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Blind Blue. That's a good question there. It's not like the stock market. Luckily, real estate, we can kind of look at it for a little bit. Is that what you're saying, Chris?
Exactly. Yeah.
Gotcha. Levon, the stimulus package has unemployment for independent contractors, wholesalers, investors. What do you think about that for those that wimp out in this market? Oh, man, she's going to wimp out.
Yeah, I mean, as far as the stimulus package, I think you should apply for it. If you've got reasoning for applying for it, and it's something that's workable for you, you should definitely go do that. They've got the idle plan that's out, and they've got the PPP plan that's out. You got to find the one that fits and makes sense for your business, and I would go ahead and apply for that. Nobody knows right now exactly how the stimulus package is going to end up working out, but if you got your stuff in order, it doesn't hurt to go ahead and apply.
Well, the thing is, we got Airbnbs, Chris, and we have zero income for that.
I believe that.
Zero. You know, went from
Yeah, I said I can believe that, man. Starting to feel some hits from that.
You got Airbnb too?
Nah, man. I never got in on that particular part of the market. It just wasn't something I was super interested in doing.
Well, we were just to give you notice. Last April, we made probably 3,000 to 4,000 for the month.
Oh,
and
wow.
This month, we got zero.
Man, yeah.
Zero, Chris. You know, Roundup, get your questions in. Blind Blue, how many properties do you look at and compare to when you buy? She says she looks at 100. Oh, do you look at 100 to buy one?
I don't know the measurable on that. That's probably a mark question in my business, but we look at a lot. So to put that in perspective, I probably look at 5 to 10 deals a day. All right. And then we do probably 2 to 3 deals a week. All right. And that's been changed in the last couple of weeks. So we're not doing the same volume that we were doing a month ago. All right. So that's in the middle of changing as well. And doing less is what I mean by that. So yeah, that's something that we're constantly evaluating as well. But yeah, I look at it constantly, look at offers, look at deals on a daily basis.
Every day. I think people kind of minimize the degree of volume that all real estate guys do, Chris. I think a lot of newbies think I'm going to look at one or two houses and make an offer.
Right. No, it doesn't work that way. You got to make an offer on a whole lot of houses to get a deal.
Yeah, well, yeah. TJ Lee, hey, what's the best way to keep up with follow-ups? Also, what would you use for cold calling to get through a huge list, Chris?
All right. So the cold call guys, I use Call Tools. So you can go to calltools.com/charged up and get a special discount. So I use that, and that's a dollar system that we use. It's worked out very, very well for us. So chargeduptools.com/charged up. Best way to keep up with follow-ups is use a dollar system. So Call Tools has a CRM built into it that you can manage and calendar your follow-ups inside of that. Or you can just designate a specific day in your business to do nothing but follow up. All right. So once a week, you can say, hey, every Friday, I'm going to follow up every single Friday. And on Fridays, I'm not going to do anything but follow ups. All right.
Gotcha.
So those are two ways you can do that.
Good one. Good question. Summer breeze. Are the courts closed? Isn't that needed to complete a real estate transaction, Chris?
Yeah. So the courts are not closed. All right. So the clerk's offices are open. Closing. Clerks. Yeah. So court itself is closed. All right. But the clerk's office is still open. We just had a closing last week. There was no issue in getting that funded and recorded. You can actually get that done.
What's going on here is they won't let you inside. You got to drop it off. They're letting abstract people drop it off the door.
That's the same here. Yep.
Danny Bailey. Hey, with cold calling, has there been an increase in sellers wanting to sell right now, Chris?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have seen an increase in sellers that want to sell. We've seen an increase in contact rate. Now, that doesn't mean they want to sell at the price that we want to buy at.
Yeah.
Right. So what we're doing is price anchoring right now with a lot of the sellers that we're speaking with. And then we're going to keep touching them on a weekly basis until they're realistic about the market and fully ready to go.
Chris, are you looking to get into new rehabs right now? Or I wanted to ask you, it sounds like you're doing more deals that don't require cash.
Yeah, so I'd still rehab right now if it's the right price. If I can get it at a really good price, at a good discount, I'd still rehab. But I'm not going to do anything that's going to cost me putting more than 20 grand into it to fix it up.
Gotcha. Y'all listen to the man, y'all. Round up. This dude knows what he's talking about. I mean, we get approached with deals. We're cash heavy, Chris, and I'm like, where do you buy? I mean, if I talk to Crumbine, and if he's loaning at 50%,
yeah, that tells you everything right there.
He goes, let me tell you what he told me. He goes, Chris, whenever you got a world meltdown in the economy, what do you think is going to happen here?
It's going to keep going down.
You're right, Mike. You're right, man. Francisco, what's the best way to market to sellers for wholesale deals, Chris?
You got to get a list, man.
Cold call.
Yeah, you got to get a list. So you can go to chargeduplist.com. All right, chargeduplist.com with the S. So you got to get a good quality list, man. I mean, a lot of people cheap out on data. You cannot go cheap on data. You got to get a good list. Go skip trace that list. I like to use REI Skip. All right, and then you got to get on the phone, pick up the phone, and start making phone calls.
Gotcha. A lot of everything that people don't want to do, right, Chris?
Exactly.
Like putting out signs. Nobody want to do it, but we still do deals from signs.
Yep.
Memorindra, hey, do you prefer lease option or wraparound mortgages in order to build wealth in this current market, Chris?
Yeah, so I mean, I think you're fine with either option. I don't do very many lease options, but I do like to do wraps. So wraps could be beneficial to you in this business. But honestly, you really can't go wrong either way. And I think you do a lot of lease options, don't you?
Yeah, that's my bread and butter. Lease options, dog. Everybody paid except for one. My one guy didn't pay this month.
Really? That's good. That's good. That's good odds, man.
It is good. I'm blessed. It's good. Round up. Get your questions in for Chris Jefferson. We're here talking about the real estate market, which way it's going, how's Chris changing, and what he's doing to thrive in this market here. Blind Blue. Oh, that's a statement there. DeAndre. Hey, my brother. Nice tie. As a wholesaler, which type of lead would you recommend focusing on during this time? Absentee owners, probates, etc. I need to switch my strategy with the type of leads he's targeting, Chris.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's any one specific. I think what I like is different list stacks. So, like I said, if you go on chargeuplist.com, you can buy lists that are pre-stacked. All right. So, like one that I discussed in my group recently is you can get a stack of low credit, low income that are absentee, or you can do low credit, low income that are owner occupied. All right. The owner occupied list is obviously going to be a little bit more difficult to call and get them sold. All right. But those are going to be people that are in situations that have multiple motivating factors. I think that's a list that you should check out. Like I said, go on chargeduplist.com and check that out.
Gotcha. Thanks for that one. Sandwich lease auction. I'm buying land, mini resorts. That's interesting. Dragons buying land.
No doubt.
Oh man, it's a good one. Mitt, Chris, would you ever do new bills again? That's what we're doing. We're doing new bills down here. We're turning them down and doing.
Yeah, shout out to Mitt, man. I know Mitt well, man. He's a good wholesaler up there in the Baltimore area doing this thing.
Okay.
Baltimore.
So
So will I ever do new builds again? I'll absolutely build houses again at some point when the market tells me that I should be building houses. The next time the market starts to move up and appreciate, I'm sure I'll go back into building houses at that point. When that'll be right now, who knows? But yeah, I mean, building houses is fun. Most days it's much easier than doing renovations. So we'll definitely do that at some point again.
it sounds like you came to the point in your life, Chris. I remember when my contractor told me, man, you need to make sure whatever dollar you have going out has to come back for a return. And you're
Absolutely.
doing those pretty houses and those big new constructions, you can't get emotionally tied to it. Were you getting emotionally tied at all, Chris?
Wasn't emotionally tied to it, but you start to fall to ego though. I mean, I definitely think I fell to ego a little bit. You getting a lot of love, you got you in the paper, you're doing these
Yeah.
yeah, I think I fell victim to that a little bit for sure. I mean, I made good money doing them, but the reality was they took so much of my time because we were doing so many that it caused me not to be able to effectively focus on other things.
Gotcha. Danny Bailey with cold calling. Has there been an increase in sellers wanting to sell now? I think you talked about that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mitt, what do you think about using 2009? Maybe that is 2009 comps for this market. Maybe that is a good question.
Yeah, so that's interesting. I'd be interested to look at the data to see what that shows.
We had that tax credit then, though, Chris.
Yeah, so I couldn't speak to that specifically, but I think it's worth taking a couple of the leads, looking at what they looked like comp or value wise in 2009, 2010, in terms of using as comps in this market. That's an interesting thought or concept, but I'd have to look at some data and see if that actually made any sense.
Good philosophy there, Mitt. Must be a philosopher. Jed, Chris, strategies for purchasing foreclosure properties at auction.
It's pretty simple. Just go to the auction. I don't know if they're doing them online these days. Well, I guess they're paused right now, but figure out what amount you're willing to pay for something in advance. Go actually look at the property in advance as best you can, and pull soft title on a property prior to an auction to make sure you fully understand what you're bidding on.
You better pull a title or you're going to really have a bad hair day.
Absolutely.
You're going to have a bad hair day, Jed. The cold calling. The pragmatic idealist. Looking to enter into real estate investing via wholesaling. Get your man. What are the top ways, suggestions to find a mentor in this market?
I mean, to me, that's pretty easy, man. Focus on people who are actually doing deals. I know Chris does mentoring. I've got a coaching program. Reach out to people that you know that are actually doing stuff in the market and working and doing deals. And that's how you find a mentor. But most importantly, let me say, be willing to spend money. All right. People's time is valuable. There's a lot of free information out there. I put out a lot of free information. I know you put out a lot of free information as well. But when somebody uses the framing or uses the word mentor, if you want direct one-on-one or intimate help, so to speak, You got to be willing to pay for that. When people talk about me building a lot of houses and things of that nature, I learned how to build houses after I'd already started investing in real estate. I did not know how to build a house at all. And so I went to a guy who was a local builder, and I offered to write him a check to teach me how to build houses. A couple of days later, he took me up on that offer, wrote him a check on the spot, and he started teaching me how to build houses and do new construction. And that completely changed and benefited my life. So if you want to know information, you want to learn, you don't want to sit on the fence, just getting information here and there, or just trying to blend everybody's philosophies into one. You should absolutely get with somebody who has been effective in the market, spend money with them to coach and train you and mentor you, and you can absolutely do well.
Yeah, spend a few dollars, Chris. I'm glad you said that. Spend a few dollars. We could take. I'm no doubt I could do lunch and take phone calls and answer emails 24 hours a day.
Right.
But the people that are willing to say, "Listen, I know your time is valuable," they kind of go right to the top. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly. Yeah.
TJ Lee, is there any additional information you would add to your contracts with not being able to walk inside of the home, Chris? Good one.
Look, we do non-refundable deposits with our cash buyers. You can only police this really so much. What this really just comes down to is if somebody doesn't perform on a contractual agreement, are you willing to take them to court or not? All right. That's just really kind of what that is. So you can't really enforce it, so to speak, or necessarily additional information.
What are you talking about, Chris? With the buyer or the seller?
Well, I'm talking about with a buyer, right?
I think she's talking about not being able to walk inside of the house.
I got you.
Dealing with sellers.
Yeah, there's nothing that you need to add. All right. What we have in our contract is, I apologize, I read that wrong. So there's nothing that you need to add. What we have in our contract is contingent upon an inspection, because we're going to need to do an inspection at some point. Most buyers are going to want to get in the property at some point before they buy. But we'll get it locked up over the phone before we actually go physically look at it.
Gotcha. Pragmatic wants to know, should the mentor be specific to your area or does it matter, Chris?
Your area of investment. Yeah. I mean, if you want to learn about new construction, you want to talk to somebody that builds houses. If you want to talk to somebody about wholesaling, you want to talk to a wholesaler. There's a lot of people out here who have different courses and information, and it's on stuff they don't even actually do. You should absolutely, you don't want to go learn lease options from somebody who doesn't do lease options.
That new construction man would tear your hind parts, cut all the pieces.
Yeah. You want to make sure you're getting information from people that actually do it for sure.
Geotechnical report. I remember, Chris, I built a house one time and the damn surveyor we have a lot of flood zones down here.
Right. Yeah.
Chris, they had my foundation 7 feet in the air, dog.
Oh man.
It was only supposed to be 3, so I had no idea. Luckily, I had a good builder. They tore it down to 3, but man, stuff happens.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Chris Memendra, what was your biggest hurdle once you started out in the business, Chris?
I think biggest hurdle was just capital. I started in a market that was very wide open, kind of like the market that we're getting ready to be in here soon. And I just needed access to more capital. So I'd say that was the biggest hurdle. That's probably the smallest hurdle these days. But at the time when I first started, the biggest hurdle for sure was getting the appropriate capital to get started.
Did national hard money lenders exist when you started, Chris?
No.
They didn't even exist.
Yeah, there was no such thing as Lending Home and Lima One companies. Yeah, that stuff wasn't around. Only thing they really do is get local hard money.
Chris, what's your thoughts on Wall Street has to figure out a way to get pumping money in the system? As I'm getting older, I think about the meltdown in 2008.
Yeah.
They have to figure, the reason it came about, they had to figure out a way to print funny money, as Robert Kiyosaki calls it. Figure out that, that's the only way that they can make the market rise.
Yeah, I think that's what the situation we're in right now, right? I was having a conversation this morning with a good friend of mine. The issue right now is that there's no money circulating really at all in the marketplace. So something is, I'm fully certain that something government-wise is going to come down the line. I mean, that's really the intent of the stimulus package, right? The only problem is people can't go outside. But I do think at some point there's going to be some effort made to intentionally stimulate the marketplace so that dollars are circulating in the economy.
Gotcha. Roundup. Get your questions in. We got Chris here. Chris Jefferson. Get him in. Chris, how are you adjusting your investing strategy to move into stagflation? That's a big word.
So, I mean,
Stagflation.
that's hard to say. I think being patient is the biggest thing. If interest rates go up, if unemployment continues to go up, that's just going to be something that is what it is. I mean, you can only do so much about that.
Yeah.
But practicing patience, I think, is going to be key. I think something else that will be big in that space also will be taking advantage of subject to situations if we run into stagflation, simply because you'll be able to get properties or pick up properties that had older mortgages on them with cheaper interest rates.
Yep. Older mortgages. Chris, that's all I got, man. No more Q&A. Thank you so much for your time, bro.
Hey, man, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for having me on, man. It's always good to talk with you. Like I said, man, you got a great audience. You're putting out great content, and I got to talk to my fellow Virginian, man, and we got to stay connected and continue to help motivate the people.
Give me some final thoughts, Chris, for just on people that want to get in the game. A lot of people are just kind of sitting around. Well, not sitting around, but they've been wanting to do it. Now it's even nervous for guys like you and me. Well,
Sure.
I'm gonna tell you, I'm nervous. I can't speak for you, but
Absolutely. Yeah.
I got cash, right? I could, we could buy whatever now, but I'm just like, don't want to buy, don't want to. What do we do? I mean, what are just final thoughts, Chris?
Yeah. So the final thoughts is stay patient, right? If you're looking at wholesaling, I've got a strategy guide that I sell for $25. You can go to startwholesalinghouses.com, pick up that strategy guide. It's going to give you some direct steps you need on how to get started in the market. If you are renovating or doing flips and doing buy and hold, make sure you're buying good deals. Make sure you're not overselling yourself on what the numbers are. Really stay true to the numbers and rate of return. If you're in a jam situation, go have that conversation with your lender. Be straightforward. Get on the same page with them. Get those things figured out. That kind of stuff is going to be extremely important. But guys, we're moving into a space, like I said earlier in this call, where a lot of money is going to be able to be made. You want to be on the right side of that and be able to take advantage of that. Slow feet don't eat. I say that all the time, man. Slow feet don't eat. You can't be scared. You can't be scared to jump into the marketplace. You can't be scared to actually come in and do this business. You got to be willing to spend a little bit of money to get to where you actually want to go. If you're committed to the things that you say, all right. But be diligent in your efforts, man. Follow the right people, obtain the right information. But most importantly, I tell people every single time, you got to talk to sellers on a daily basis. Some people do everything but talk to sellers on a daily basis. You can watch all the live streams. You can watch all the YouTube videos. You can read all the books you want. You can be on every single Facebook group all day making comments and posts. But if you are not talking to sellers on a daily basis, you will not do deals.
Gotcha. Okay. The big dog has spoken. Chris Jefferson, Richmond, Virginia, real estate investor since what? 2000. You got in the market. This should be home for you. You're like Briar in the Briar Patch.
Yeah, this is how it was when I started, man. I started in 08, started doing really well in 2010. So yeah, man, I mean, this isn't uncomfortable territory for me. My personal mentality is, man, I could go broke in this market, like I said earlier, and I'm gonna make that money back tenfold. So it's not a place of fear for me. It's just a place of adjustment, right? And that's business, that's life. You got to constantly be able to pivot and make adjustments as they're coming at you. It's like boxing, man. I'm Floyd Mayweather, man. I'm playing defense. I got my hands up and I'm waiting to see how things come. And I'm attacking with precision when it comes to winning this. And you got to play for 12 rounds, right? It's not a Mike Tyson punch out, right? You're not playing to knock somebody out in the first round. This is going to be a 12-round fight. There's going to be some rounds you do well in. There's going to be some rounds that you don't. That's just kind of what this situation is. That's what this market is going to be. But the goal is to get to the other side, be healthy and mentally stable. There's going to be a lot of people who don't make it to the other side of the situation health-wise because of this virus. So you got to keep your wits about you. Stay focused, love on your family, and be intentional about the information that you're getting, man, and get to the other side of it.
Let me ask you, Chris. I got it. I know you got to go.
No,
I got. a bunch of short sales, right?
Yeah.
We were ready to pounce, right? And now they want obviously now the banks are like contact. I mean, we've been negotiating them for some time.
Yeah.
Chris, no doubt these numbers cannot be accurate with where the market is going now that it's where it's going. I mean, what
Yeah.
would you do?
The
Go ahead.
negotiators got to reopen that file up, man. I've bought a lot of short sales over the years. It's a great segment of the
Tool.
market. We've done well with short sales for sure. But yeah, man, I mean, you got to press those negotiators on those files back down, and
Gotcha.
they got to make adjustments given the market for sure.
That's what I was thinking, man. I'm like, dude, I don't know how many calls we got from short sale negotiators this week, Chris. They are just ready to do. I'm like, dude, I've been trying to get the house for the last,
I've been chasing you for 10 months.
Chris. Anyway, I should do a video about all the calls.
I believe that, man.
All right, Roundup. Make sure you subscribe, hit that like button, share this with any other investors that are looking to get into business. The advice comes right from the big dog, Chris Jefferson.
Appreciate you, brother.
Okay, guys, Roundup. Bye, everybody.
Peace.